This is a Bontempi chord organ. My wife got this for me for my birthday, and it's so much fun to play. The sound is warm and inviting, but can also be a little bit ominous. Bontempi is actually an Italian instrument company based in this beautiful town. They were most famous in the 70s and 80s, in part for making organs just like this. Believe it or not, it's actually a wind instrument, but one that you don't play with your mouth. It's what's called a free reed aerophone. Basically, that's a class of instruments that works by using air to vibrate a flappy piece of metal. That's the reed in question. And that vibrating reed is what makes the sound. It's a technique for producing sound that's probably always existed, but its mainstream usage can be traced back to the dual inventions of the harmonica and the accordion. It's actually not exactly clear which of those instruments was invented first. Free reeds are also used in melodicas, and you'll notice that all these instruments kind of sound similar. Anyway, these instruments all had their limitations. The accordion requires the player to open and close their arms constantly. It's essentially a bellows that forces air across the reeds. And as we've already seen, harmonicas and melodicas both require you to blow into them. So anyway, some enterprising 20th century person got this idea. Hey, we have electricity now, why don't we just hook up a fan to one of these instruments and we'll never have to work a day in our lives again. And the result is brilliant. Except the fans they had on hand were really, really loud. Check it out. I just turned this back on. You hear that? That's right. Everything you've heard so far has been a lie. I've been digitally removing the sound of the fan for your listening pleasure. So what you're hearing now is what the instrument actually sounds like. When you're playing, you don't hear it so much, but the second you stop, there it is. I think it kind of adds to the charm. As chord organs go, this one's pretty quiet. It's like there's somebody vacuuming in the distance somewhere. So anyway, that's one of the quirks of this kind of instrument. It just is always producing that sound. Like maybe by now someone has come up with a quiet enough fan that this wouldn't even be an issue. But with the advent of synthesizers, I'm not sure anyone is really working to innovate on the fan organ anymore. One cool thing about this model is that there's a slider that lets you vary how much air gets pushed through the reeds. As you can hear, changing the amount of air has a substantial effect on the timbre of the instrument. Another thing I haven't talked about are the chord buttons on the left-hand side. The chord buttons are the thing that give this instrument its name. This is a chord organ, of course. And it's actually just like an accordion. On an accordion, the left-hand side usually has buttons that control chords, and the right-hand side has a keyboard for playing melody. That concept is borrowed here. Of course, this is a fairly basic model, and it only has 4 major chords and 4 minor chords. And they're not particularly in tune. So anyway, I'd really like to know what this instrument would sound like with audio effects. And if this were a synthesizer, all I would do is plug the audio output from the synthesizer into whatever effect I want to try out, and I could hear what it sounds like. But this doesn't have an audio output. I opened it up, and this is all that was inside. As you can see, the only thing electricity is used for in this is to power that fan. In other words, this is an entirely mechanical musical instrument, and there's no chance of us adding an audio output ourselves. So we're going to have to take a different approach. I'm going to sample it, and then we can put those samples through an effect. Okay, a day has passed, and I have now sampled this instrument. I actually ended up sampling it twice with 2 different microphones. Here is the first of 2 decent sampler instruments I created. By the way, these sample libraries are completely free. The link is in the description to this YouTube video. The sample library has the benefit of a bunch of features that the original instrument does not. It has chorus and reverb. And you can change the release time, which I think gives a nice effect. If you're wondering what these colors here mean, the dark color represents the actual range of the instrument, as you can see up here, and I've actually stretched these so you can get some higher and lower notes as well. I think it works especially well with quick arpeggiations, things like this. Gives this kind of pleasant, upbeat effect, and it responds extremely well to delay. Speaking of delay, let's run this through some outboard effects. That was the whole reason for sampling this in the first place. So this is my initial setup. Chase Bliss Habit and Microcosm by Hologram. The keyboard is just there so I can trigger the samples. At this point, I kind of lost the plot. It was so much fun playing with these sounds that I ended up with hours and hours of footage awash in a sea of ambient soundscapes. These are just a few moments. I've taken the best sounds from this effects experiment and turned them into a sample library, which I've called Chord Organ and Friends. You'll notice the subtle difference in the artwork. This is the original Chord Organ library, and this is the and Friends version. The library comprises 15 decent sampler presets. Some of them are pads. Some of them are keys instruments. And some of them are something else. Each one of them has a friendliness control, which allows you to fade between the preset and the original chord organ sound that it's based on. I think it's a lot of fun. This is a classic situation, one where the magic of sampling has allowed me to transcend many of the limitations of the original instrument. We can add effects, there's no fan noise. The sampled instrument can play a much larger range of notes than its physical counterpart. At the same time, I do still really enjoy playing the real thing. I think partly it has to do with how the sound is generated, those vibrating reeds. As I press down on the keys, I can actually feel the instrument buzzing beneath my fingertips. My wife bought this from an older man who said that his wife had used it to make quote-unquote beautiful music for many years. A legacy I hope to continue myself in either analog or digital form. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you could give it a thumbs up. Also, now's a great time to subscribe. It's free, and if you click the little bell, you'll be notified when I make a new video. The regular Chord Organ library is available for free to anyone, and the special Chord Organ and Friends sample library is available to patrons. It costs just $5 to become a patron, and at least once a month, you will get an exclusive patrons-only sample library. There have been a bunch already. Okay, I think that's it. See you soon.